What's up, everybody? David Yakir here for iHeartRadio's Yak About, a boomer's GPS guide to life. So if you're familiar with the years 46 to 64, then this is the place you want to be. So put your headphones on, go for a run, and listen as we yak about. Hey, what's up, everybody? David Yakir here for Yak About Today, helping boomers be better, healthier, and more informed than any generation that came before. We are broadcasting today from our home at the Planet Vero Studios in the heart of the Treasure Coast. If your dreams are beautiful white sand beaches and blue waters, temperature perfect, come visit us. We welcome you. And we are here celebrating a big week. I'm here with Wayne Dillon. How are you, Wayne?
Hey, I'm doing great, David. How are you?
I'm pretty good.
Good.
You may notice that there's a little lack of voice coming through the microphone.
That's okay.
I think we've got one of those summer chest things going.
Can I tell you a quick story?
Yeah, please do.
A good friend of mine who you would probably know was John Gambling out of New York.
Yes,
All
yes.
Right. Well, I worked with John Gambling the third. We called him Junior. His dad was big. And then, of course, his grandfather started with WOR in the 30s.
That's right.
John told me one day when we were working together in Fort Lauderdale that he had his voice insured for $5 million.
That's amazing. It's like the old actresses. Remember, who was it? Ginger Rogers.
Yeah.
Remember they said they insured her legs.
Yes. Yeah. And guess what? That was RKO also.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, so maybe you need to get your voice insured.
Yeah, it's $1 million voice.
That's right.
At its best. I'm not sure this isn't better, but, Anyway, you know what I wanted to talk about, just to start off before we get into what we're going to do today, is last week, when we were talking, and this is such an interesting idea, when we were talking about, how we always give updates on cable companies and, how to negotiate your bills and how to talk to cable companies and phone companies and how to buy your telephone service, et cetera. We did a piece last week on how cable companies were still the worst rated of, all service industries, although I think a lot of them have good products.
Yes.
But technology, no matter how good you are, is difficult to support, I think. But I did get a lot of chatter on social media about, that people really don't understand how to deal with the companies and how to, negotiate their contracts. And there was something I think you said last week off air, that any of you out there looking for a business model, there may be one in helping people really talk to the technology providers, sort of like we always see the ads on television for, AT&T or Verizon, or mostly we see a lot of T-Mobile ads, cut this, unlimited minutes, for half the price. And there's always little lines of text under it that says, well, it's only unlimited until you get to 22 gigabytes. And then we slow your phone down to a crawl and you're never going to be able to make a call again.
Right.
But once you study these things, you start to understand that, these business models, it's sort of, there was an old thing. What is the men's clothing store around Joseph
A. Banks?
Right. Excuse me,
That's
people.
All right.
So Joseph A. Banks has such an interesting model. Every week they would advertise and they would say, this week only, 30% off, or 60% off, right? And then for a whole week, all you'd see is commercial after commercial after commercial, 60% off. But then about a week later, they go, this week only, 3 suits for the price of 1.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
And then, you'd get, but if you actually took all the commercials and the offers and broke them down, it was the exact same offer every single week. Everything was discounted about 35% every week, but one week it was discounted 35%. One week you got 3 for the price of 1 or 2, that type of thing. And it's when you study the deals, it actually becomes really helpful because I'm not sure that they do this on purpose, but they construct deals that might be slightly confusing to the customer.
Yeah.
And certainly the telephone companies do it, the mobile companies do it, and certainly the cable companies do it. And one of the big things, and this is what people should look out for also, and I think we talked about this, maybe not on air, but off air. Those people who sign up for packages from the cable company, the triple play, the phone, the video, and the internet.
Yeah.
You're given this wonderful price, and they go, look, this is a great price. It's $99 for a year or $99 for 2 years with a contract. Or it's $99
a month for a year.
For a month, for a year
Yes.
on a 2-year contract.
Yes, exactly.
Right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So you are contracted with them for 2 years, but the first year is $99. How many people are saying, well, what does it cost after
Right.
the first year? Because I'm still contracted for the second year. And all of a sudden, that $99, which is never $99, by the way,
Right.
there are, it seems, more they tax when you stand, they tax the land you are. It reminds me of that lemonade commercial that's on TV where the girl sells lemonade for $1 and the bill comes out to $2.20. And she goes, it's 20 cents insurance tax, 20 cents this. Well, that's how your bills are. So your $99 bill is probably $120
Right.
when you pay for it. And so what happens is that one day, all of a sudden you get the bill and it's like $220.
Right.
And you go, did I forget to pay last month? And there it is. And then you call them and say, they say, well, you had a 2-year contract and it was only good, the $99 deal. So companies don't want to lose you as a customer, right? Stay with them. Tell them that you want the price dropped. Right, or you will negotiate something else with another company. It's hard to get out of the contracts, but they'd rather not lose you, even though they'll tell you damage your credit and things like that. They'll work with you. So stay on the line and try to work with them. And as a business, I think somebody out there that's really good at knowing how to talk to companies should get in there. So, All right. So where are we today? So what I thought, Wayne, in our limited time here, that I went about, how I do the show every week as I pick out interesting things I read. And throughout the week, I use technology people. I read an article. I send it to something called Pocket, and it shows up on all my devices in Pocket. And I look through articles that I think would be interesting to our audience. So I have a few things that I thought we could talk about. But before we do that, what I want to do is talk about our founding sponsor, and that's New Vision Eye Center. And, people out there, I think last week I talked about businesses who wanted to sponsor Yak About Today and how valuable that sponsorship would be, but only if it was a sponsorship that was worthy of our community that listens to us. And one of our founding sponsor was New Vision Eye Center, is New Vision Eye Center. And it's something that we really feel strongly about, because when you have difficulty with your eyes, like Wayne, you did, and I did, and I think Sally did, and, and you have a town with, multiple providers, you want to go to the best.
Yes.
And I have to recommend, you all got to go see Dr. Minotti, Reinauer, Tate, O'Brien, and the rest of the great team at New Vision Eye Center. And I say that because, honestly, Sally, Wayne, and I wouldn't trust our eyes to anyone else.
They are the best.
The very best.
Yes.
In fact.
And like you said, we've had a couple issues, both Sally and I, and they got us in right away. They took care of us. They're very professional. And the one thing I love about them, David, is that they explain what's going on, from not only the procedure, but all the way through the insurance and how the insurance is applied. And there are no surprises with them, which is just beautiful.
That's right. And sometimes I forget because, sometimes we're just talking to each other in the studio and we have our experiences. But there are times when I think I told you the story. I don't know if I told it on air, that I was walking the dog down in the community. And you know how you meet your fellow dog walkers on a regular basis. You walk your dogs at a certain time. And, you forget. And one of my neighbors turned around to me and said, David, thank God I went to your doctor. And I'm sitting there going, My doctor.
Your doctor.
My doctor. Which doctor's that? Because I was having so much trouble with my eyes. I went to your doctor. And I did, with just normal people walking down the street, I don't remember giving her my doctor's name, for her eyes.
Yeah.
And she goes, no, you were right. I count me in as one of those people that only goes to New Vision Eye Center.
Wow.
And
great.
I think that's the great testament to them. So we're glad to have them as a founding sponsor.
Yes, we are.
Okay. So for our crowd, I found an interesting article, and I'm only going to give you sort of the overall picture of this, but it's from a company called Korn Ferry, and they're an executive recruiter. And I found this really interesting because we talk about this all the time, how there's such an amazing case of ageism in our society now where, people, ever since the recession of 2008, people have really been pushed out, of the workforce who are 55 and over. So I want to talk about a new study by Korn Ferry, which is a leading recruiter. And you know what I'll do? I think we'll take the break.
Okay.
And when I come back, we'll talk about it on the other side. Hey, David Yakir here. You're listening to Yak About Today, and I'm here with Wayne. So, Wayne, so Korn Ferry is a very big company in the executive recruiter field. And they came out with an article saying how companies are hiring the over 70 crowd. And the whole article, and what I'll do is I'll actually paste this onto or copy it onto our Facebook pages. I'll put it on the Planet Vero pages.
Okay,
and every place. But it really is a study about, how people over 70 bring experience and a lot of wisdom. And they have different qualities than the millennials who are now coming of age and really running our companies at the mid-level right now. And there seems to be a lot of success. So those people who are in that 55, 65, or even 70 or above category, there are opportunities out there because a lot of companies are mixing the older and wiser set with the younger set. But there was a caveat in here in the article, and I need to read it because it's funny, but it's not funny. But we'll talk about it again.
Okay.
Because of course there are obvious downsides of the geriatric demographic. They may be Luddites, fossilized in their ways, or burnt out or lethargic, and it's true, the clock is ticking. But researchers are discovering that some cognitive abilities don't peak until later in life. A study published in the Journal of Applied Psychology last year measured mental abilities among executive job applicants across the age spectrum. Generally, older executives scored modestly lower than younger ones, with the largest drop-offs for subjects older than 60, which is why positions like air traffic controllers have a mandatory retirement age of 56. Yet age has a positive correlation with higher crystallized intelligence, which measures experience-based knowledge such as verbal capability and emotional IQ. Widespread cognitive ability tests used for narrowing candidates' pools often don't measure these attributes. So that last two sentences were the positive sentences, saying basically what they're saying, that we may not have the skills of a younger set because our brains don't work that fast. But on the other side of that, there's a lot of wisdom and there's a lot of ability to communicate.
We learn, hopefully, not to make the same mistakes over and over again.
That's right.
Yeah.
Did we ever really learn that? I seem to be making them one after another.
No.
So, okay, here's one that you'll find. This is for our audience and especially for our sponsors. Radio is more popular in the U.S. than you think, right? So the common assumption in the tech world, excuse me again, is that old media platforms are dying a slow death. As smart devices become more and more ubiquitous, the need for traditional platforms like linear cable TV seem to only lessen with each passing year. But while there's no denying that the changes new technologies have brought, it might be unwise to discount just how influential those older platforms remain. For instance, radio, not smartphones or PCs, reach more Americans each week than any other media platform, according to a recent Nielsen report charted for us by Statista.
And you know who said that also? Believe it or not, if you listen to our station, Bob Pittman, who is chairman and CEO of iHeartMedia, has a radio promo on right now. He launched it last week, talking about how many people listen to radio in the United States, largest listening medium in the United States.
And would you like that number?
Yes.
228 million adults
Wow.
in the U.S. listen to some form of radio at least once a week.
Wow.
So does that give us the opportunity to tell our sponsors, come on board?
That's right.
Yak About Today is always looking for new sponsors.
Yep.
All right. Speaking of Yak About Tech, and again, a little sort of smart alecky talk here. Here's one saying that our smartphones are making us dumber.
I think so. You're right.
Okay. So, though our phones are getting smarter, new research suggests that they're actually making us dumber. A team of researchers at the McCombs School of Business at the University of Texas at Austin set out to test the brain drain hypothesis, the theory that simply having your smartphone near you could impact your available cognitive capacity. So, here it is. The study featured 800 participants who were required to take a test on a computer that required their individual undivided attention. The participants were divided into 3 groups that each received different instructions. One group was instructed to place their phones face down on a table next to the computer they were using. Another was instructed to leave the phones nearby but out of sight, such as in a pocket or a bag, and the third group was told to leave their phones in another room. Prior to the start of the test, all 3 groups were instructed to turn off all notifications on their phones. The researchers found that individuals who left their phones in the other room scored higher on a test than those that had their phones nearby, despite the latter group saying they had not even been thinking about their phones. So in other words, the further away your phone was, the better you did on the test, even though your phone was at its side, you never looked at it or anything. So participants in all 3 groups self-reported thoughts about their smartphones at the same frequency. The results suggest that the mere presence of one smartphone has a measurable impact on an individual's available cognitive capacity, regardless of if they feel distracted or not. So, the next time you find yourself really needing to concentrate on something, it might be best to get as far away from your phone as possible.
Yes.
Okay, that's fun.
Yeah.
Okay, here's a buy of the week. Right?
Yep.
So, do you have an action cam? Do you have like a GoPro?
I don't have a GoPro yet. We're looking at different options.
Okay.
GoPro just came out with their new drone.
All right. That's right.
Yep.
Great drone. Anyway, here's something. I think this is a must buy. So everybody get your pencil and paper and put it down. So you know what action cams are. They're, the most famous of them is the GoPro. And these little cubes that are mostly waterproof. And they can shoot 4K video sort of in, what is it, fisheye? Is that what it's called? It's wide angle.
Wide angle, yeah. Fisheye, yeah. No, they're doing wide angle.
Wide angle, okay. So here's something that's been tested by several of the gadget blogs that I follow. It's called FitFort, F-I-T-F-O-R-T, waterproof 4K action camera, right? And it's sold at Amazon, FitFort. And it's the equivalent of, and has all the features and quality of the $400 and $500 GoPros. And it's been discounted to $64, right? And the sale's happening right now. If you go to Amazon, it's at FitFort, and it's virtually a duplicate of the GoPro for $64, which is interesting because I don't know if you follow this. You're a big tech guy. You're buying tech every time. In fact, every time we're in the studio, you have a new technology in the studio, whether it's new cameras, new mics, new computers, and all that. The influx of well-made Chinese brands that are duplicates of the better-known brands is happening across the board. And we had this discussion earlier. In fact, we did an episode on this. We were doing a Skype test earlier, you and I, before we started broadcasting. And you came in and said, look, I want to test this out to see if we can Skype and do all that. And you came in and said, oh, I just bought a bunch of these headphones at
Amazon.
On Amazon.
Yeah.
For, what'd you say, $5, $7, something like that.
Earbuds. Earbuds, yeah.
The quality of the earbuds is on par virtually to the earbuds that come with your smartphones or the ones that we used to pay $59, $69, $79, right? Well, this is happening right across the board. And there's a company, a couple of the Chinese companies that are really gaining great reputations. In fact, I wouldn't mind actually coming in and doing sort of a piece on the 3 or 4 companies, Chinese companies that are putting out equivalent products, as they're called, to the products that we're spending a lot of money on now that are getting the same rave reviews.
That would be interesting to our listeners.
Right.
Yeah, that would be.
Okay, so we got about a minute and a half, something like that. All right. So I did pick up on one of the articles. So everybody, take a guess of what the healthiest states to live in are for older citizens.
Colorado, Oregon.
Okay, we're on it. So number 1, Minnesota.
Minnesota.
Second, Utah. Hawaii, Colorado, New Hampshire, and Massachusetts.
All northern, huh?
That's right.
Wow.
Now, it's interesting. The least healthiest states for older people, Mississippi, Kentucky, Oklahoma, Louisiana, Arkansas, and West Virginia ranked lowest in fostering the health and well-being of older residents. And I think that's because, we had this discussion a while ago, and I know we're about to end here. And that's because the bigger cities in the north, are really very big, well-developed cities that have all the facilities.
Yes,
they have
that's
all
true.
senior care facilities.
Yeah.
They have a lot of hospitals. They have tons of doctors. They have research facilities. So it makes sense that northern cities would be better for seniors in their health. It doesn't mean it's the best place to play golf, because we know where that is.
Yes, right here.
Right here. All right. I'm David Yakir. I'm here with Wayne. We'll see you next week.